All right, you're listening to AI Growth Hacking Podcast, episode 2. Glad to be here. I'm your host, Andrew Best. I'm here again with my younger brother, Addison Best. We will get to him in a second. But first, guys, we're very excited about this topic, which is the hot topic of AI recently, and that's AI agents. And we think we have quite a bit to add to the conversation because there's so much mystique around it and poor defining and kind of weird examples that it's fun to think about an agent, but then I don't think it's explained very well. So we have a lot of interesting examples, hopefully, business advice, and a whole bunch of stuff. So we hope you will stick around. So anyway, Ad, I know I said I was going to give a couple examples first, but just you might as well say something about yourself and how you're excited for the podcast.
Interesting. Yeah, we didn't talk about that, but I guess that's all part about it. It's the AI Growth Hacking Podcast. I'm glad to be here talking about AI agents, which is really a wild topic, and there's so many different definitions and the idea of where it could be and what it is right now. So we're going to dive into all of it. So I guess let's, Andrew, you can do your examples, I guess, right now. We'll go back to you and let us lead us in.
All right, thanks, Ed. So first, let's talk about what is an AI agent, and these are very poorly defined because it's sort of a new idea. So I think examples will help, but I'm going to give my definition, which is something like this. Imagine you go into ChatGPT or any other LLM, so you're on a large language model, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, and you ask it to do something that it currently can't do, that then it's not an agent. But if you can get it to the next level where you're asking it to do something that it's able to go out and do that's not built in there, you've built this extra functionality, then it's sort of it's on the AI agent spectrum. And the more it can do, the more it's like an autonomous AI agent that can actually go and do something. So, a couple examples. Here's a simple example of what would be an AI agent. So, imagine you go into ChatGPT and you type in this prompt. You say, I want you to go and send an email to my dad, ask him when he wants to go golfing together, and then go and put that in my calendar. And of course, if you've ever used ChatGPT, you know there's no way that would just be an error right off the bat. They couldn't log into your email, and they couldn't open up the calendar and do it. It just wouldn't be able to do it. It would just be a bunch of text right inside the window. But soon, what will be coming is this capability of asking it to do something like that and getting it done. Or another one in a similar vein would be something like, go search for some cheap flights, book me an economy class ticket next Tuesday from Toronto to LA. I want the cheapest direct flight leaving between 8 a.m. and noon. And of course, if you ask ChatGPT to do it, it would go on the internet, but it wouldn't be able to log in, make you an account, book something, buy a ticket. It wouldn't have access to your credit card. Maybe that's a good thing. But it couldn't do that. So these AI agents on a basic level could do this type of thing. So, Ad, if you want to jump in at this point and just comment where we are so far, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's kind of where we're at right now. An AI agent currently is kind of like if you ask ChatGPT equivalent to do something outside of that interface, it can maybe do it, but it's going to need access. It's going to need logins. It's going to need your credit cards. It's going to need a lot of different resources potentially, depending on what you ask it. I think it's also interesting to think about what an AI agent even could be in the future. To me, it could be really asking it to do anything. Like right now, you would say, for example, you could say, order me a pizza, and it could do that. It would need your credit card or whatever. That would be a kind of a low level current AI agent. In the future, it might be make me a pizza, which would be, well, that's a lot more difficult because how would it even do that? It would need to say, well, I'm going to have to, either build a robot or, buy one from Elon Musk or something and learn how to actually make a pizza and put it in the oven. I think that's what they're trying to do. Like some of the people, I'd love to know what access and capabilities like Open AI even has right now with all the resources.
So that's what I'm hoping for. To I call it the AI tuna sandwich test, but a pizza would help and or would be great too, maybe even better. But the idea, yeah, you just say, hey, I want this, go manifest it in the real world, or go outside my house and build me a new deck or dig a hole for a swimming pool. Now we're getting dealing with robots. This is getting quite outside the scope of what's going to happen in the next couple of months or years likely, but who knows, this could be 5 years away. um, I'm not sure about the swimming pool in 5 years, but that would definitely be an agent. So the more it can really do outside just a back and forth conversation, the more you are dealing with an agent. Now, the first two examples I gave were more like they could help yourself sort of thing. Now, I'm going to give another one that would be like a teaching tutor that would be a great agent. Imagine being able to say this: design a 1 hour math lesson for my son in grade two, make the questions fun and challenging. And if he gets them right, ask harder ones. If not, make easier ones so that the challenge level is appropriate. Make them have audio and pictures that go along with the problems if possible, and make the whole thing as fun and educational as possible. And I think this type of agent is coming soon. I don't see why that would be difficult, but I see why it would be very useful to be able to do this for teaching any topic. Go online, research it, and then create this whole curriculum, and then make like multiple choice interactive questions along with it. So you have this great lesson instead of just, a bunch of text.
Absolutely. And I think the distinction would be that sounds like a great idea, but it's actually quite complicated to do that because it might kind of build you quizzes and ask you questions, but they might not be very good and actually, you might not really learn much from it. So I think the next level will be how do you train these agents? Like what data are they getting? Is it good? Is it producing a good result? It can kind of do it right now, but it's gonna be you have to play around with it to try to get a better result that you might actually use for education and things like that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about how this could be really good with the AI agent marketplace that I'm going to get to pretty soon. So I maybe jumped the gun with that example, but I can see how this would work in that context. And then one more example, and this is the type of thing that we do for small businesses and entrepreneurs, is you create an agent that works like a real person on a website. So imagine you have a real estate website and you're selling houses, and somebody goes and logs onto the website, and then there's like a live chat thing. But then in there, the agent, or this, like, it looks like a chat bot, but you type in the thing, and it starts asking the person for their email address, what budget they have, where they want to buy a house, how many rooms, and just different sort of information that a real estate agent might want to know about, their price range, what they want in the yard, whatever, and then stuff they don't want. And then it could actually recommend some house listings and then book an appointment with a real human real estate agent after they have their email, phone number, the whole thing, and put it in both of their calendars. That's the type of thing that we are building, that with e-commerce stores and the whole thing, and our people using it, and we're not charging very much, but they are loving it so far at like one, two, $300 a month, depending on how detailed you want it. These are a much better deal, and much better than what you can get for the free to $30 a month thing. And it makes a lot of money for these companies and these agents. These can be made now. They're just not automatic, like somebody has to go do it.
Right, that's the key. The key difference is right now you have to train them with good data first. And that's really just what an AI chatbot is. And there's a lot of those, even though they don't work that well. An AI chatbot is just something that you can interact with and ask questions with on a website or whatever, and then it will come up with an answer. But an AI agent, which is a big distinction, is something that adds additional functionality like booking appointments and things like that, that will add a lot more high level capabilities. And basically, you won't even need a customer support person to do it. These AI bots can do it essentially. And that's what an agent is. It's kind of replacing a worker in that sense. And I think that's the biggest distinction.
These workers don't take a break. They don't ask for any money. They speak. Another thing is they're fluent in every language. They work all the time. They're super fast and they know everything. And another problem, if you just get one of these cheaper ones made, even if you train it, quote unquote, with all the information on a website, currently these still don't work very well. Even if you upload everything on a website and then you go ask it about a question that's on there, these chatbots generally, unless you know what you're doing, will make a lot of errors. So they're kind of worse than nothing. So if you're interested in this, you should email us. We'll put the link in the show notes. But anyway, these kind of things, e-commerce, like you have a website and you want one of these agents. This is the next thing here. And what I wanted to talk about as well is this AI agent marketplace idea that I was listening to a conversation online. And the idea is this, and then you can jump in and sort of add to it. But imagine a marketplace. So it's like a website with millions of AI agents that are specialists in some little area. So if you have an agent yourself, like imagine a chatbot that can go out in the world and book tickets and do stuff, you say, go over to this AI agent marketplace, search all of these other specialist agents that are already ready. So to go back to the math example, they would have these, like if somebody made one time a good math teaching agent, then it's already in this marketplace and this thing could go out and find it for you. And even if it's a paid, like some of these will be free, some of them will be paid, but you can give your agent, say, like a $500 debit amount, and then it goes out and makes decisions. Now, these agents might be like 3 cents or less each time you use it, but the idea is it can go out and it can search the database, see what it needs, these other specialist things, use what they need together, and even rate them objectively, much better ratings than humans because it could rate it based on if it works or not rather than any other kind of corrupt motivation. And then once something exists once, you can just put it out in the marketplace and then other agents can use it. So just your thoughts on that idea, Ed.
I think it's a great idea in theory. And again, it comes down to, does it work? You know, does it perform the task that you're looking for? Can I just unleash this AI agent into the world and will it perform it well enough that someone will actually want to use it? And there's a lot of other things. It's really, I think it comes down to the quality of the model that they're using as well. And so you're going to have to pay more, obviously, for the better ones, but you should try it. I don't see the harm in that. It's a great idea. It just comes down to the execution.
And I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think that's the idea. So, like right now, I love playing chess. And if you go, I mean, anybody I think knows, even if you play it or not, computers are better than any human currently. But Chat GPT itself, even the best model, isn't. It's actually surprisingly still good at chess, but it still makes mistakes and actually gets things wrong. But imagine if like the chess expert is an agent out there. So if you ask Chat GPT, what's the next move I should make, it would know enough to go and search the other agents that do know and then come back and tell you that answer. So if costs go down, speed goes up. This is, I think, where things are going, and they could be experts across the board rather than this one general model, um, that's expected to know everything. And I think they're thinking it's probably not going to go that way. But if you have a zillion mini specialists, there's no real reason that shouldn't work. But of course, if you've used AI, you know that there's always growing pains along the way. Not everything works as well as you'd hope it would in theory, but these things should be getting better. And I think it makes kind of logical sense why that could work.
Yeah, and I think that's just a function of where we are right now as well. Like custom ones actually can kind of work today. That's the key. We're not talking about the original thing we were talking about at the start of the podcast, like robots making you a tuna sandwich or whatever. This can work right now to a pretty good level if you train it properly. Give it the right data, give it the right instructions, and then just set it on to whatever they're supposed to be able to do. Another example, it's kind of similar to that marketplace. I've been experimenting with different GitHub examples. I don't want to get too obscure here, so I'm going to just talk about something you've probably done on ChatGPT. That's writing an article. And if you ask ChatGPT to write an article, it's pretty good at it today, but it doesn't sound that human, and it answers too quickly. It doesn't really research enough. It doesn't really draft an article to the proper extent. Or you can do it, but you'll have to do many prompts and interactions with it to get a good article. But if you use an agent based system, you could have one agent being a researcher that gathers information on a topic. You could have an article drafter that writes the initial draft. You could have a writer that polishes the draft. You could have an editor to check it afterwards. You could even have a formatter to make it look good, add headings and subtitles and links. And then you could even have something like an illustrator to make awesome photos and stuff with it. So you can really do a lot of cool stuff if you give it different roles, and then it would do it all autonomously and you wouldn't have to keep asking it to do it for you. And that's what you can do as well right now.
Right. And then you could even ask things like put in links, like interlink it to other pages on the website, go and embed a video if necessary, and put in an affiliate link if you want. Or like there's a whole bunch of things you could ask. And I think it's worth noting, like why currently doesn't it work? You just say to ChatGPT, hey, write an article that's well researched, because it can do it. And I think the point is, if you go and ask ChatGPT, and it's the same with the other LLMs like Claude or whatever, to go and do a big task like that, even if it can do it, you're getting a limited amount of electricity, essentially, like power to do that. So it could theoretically do it, but it'll just stop well short of that. But the idea is if you're using these agents, then you're allowed to pay for them yourself. So instead of like 1 penny worth of effort by the computer, since you're paying for each step along the way, maybe it would cost like 15 cents in today's dollars to write this good article. So every command, every ask, every prompt behind the scenes, you're actually getting billed for. But the answer that you end up getting is far better than if you just prompt into the search box or into the whatever you call it, the window right now.
Exactly. So at the start, if you're writing an article, it'd be great to have really good research. And ChatGPT doesn't give that at all. It just kind of blurts out an answer super quickly. If you actually had a researcher agent, you could say, read 10 articles and then give me a summary of each of them and give me some quotes and links, and even read like 10 books on the topic first before even starting to think about the article. It's a much different process.
Right, like have a whole thing where you're planning out what are the questions to ask, what format should it be in, what type of font should you use, what type of spacing, where should the photos. There's so many things to think about, and you can take that even further and have it essentially write an entire book with one good prompt if you're paying for this. So as long as you set these agents up properly, this is where we're going, and this is never really going to go that way in the one chat GPT type window because it would cost too much. It's still not that expensive, but they're not going to give that to you with your $20 a month plan, even on the paid plan. It's too much for them. But imagine if you could write a great book for like $2.50.
No, exactly. And ChatGPT is trying to be very general. It's trying to do everything. That's why they make these agent systems too. Because you could be an expert on a specific type of topic. It could know all of, some kind of tech websites and all the news from those specifically, but it's not going to search the entire web. But you can make it very specific, and that gives it the power.
And it also saves a lot of time and money because once you've created this agent once, that you don't have to ask ChatGPT to reinvent the wheel every time. So it can just ask this new thing that already knows. Because you could, it's hard to explain, but why couldn't you just make a super model with all the knowledge of all the agents? I think that's not going to work somehow. You have to go into these subfolders essentially instead of just train the model on all of this? Like, why couldn't you just crunch every agent's info into one supermodel?
Well, I think it would just be way too big and it would take way too much computing resources, as you said. So it would be much easier to have one specific each time and then build upon that to get a good result. If you tried to do everything, it just wouldn't work. Or it's really just a matter of time. If you said, come back in a week and give me an article, maybe it could, but then it would be like, how did this article cost you $10,000? Maybe it would search way too much. It might be way more expensive because, ChatGPT went in some weird loops and decisions that you didn't want it to do.
Right. So maybe one analogy could be something like if I said, why couldn't they make a laptop that stored in the hard drive every single movie ever? And I guess the answer would be that would be so large that the laptop would crush your legs by the time you put it on there. Or I don't know how big every movie would be, but you get the idea. If you're putting like a million terabytes or something, it like currently it's just way too heavy and it would take so long to search through. So some of this stuff needs to be outside the model itself. Basically, as long as the model is intelligent enough to understand language and it can go out and use these other specialists, that's really the idea. Would you say that?
Yeah, it's the specialist models right now. It's going to take a long time to have this generalist thing where it can really do anything. And I think ChatGPT even is like on the verge of bankruptcy if it doesn't get a new funding round. I think it needs like $5 billion a year just to kind of keep this thing going because it is really ripping through so much power. I think that's really the reason. It costs so much money to run these things.
Yeah, so even as costs go way down, this is always going to be the case that smart storage and good algorithms and all this kind of stuff will be the key. And then I think, it would be good to get into our next topic, which is something that we've used. Now, this is a business idea. We like to keep this very businessy as well for people who like to earn money with this, because it's one thing to be like, you know, hey, here's a lot of cool features, but then what are you ever going to do with it? Now, one thing we've been doing, we talked about how we're making these agents for companies. And the question is, what are we using to go about making it? Okay. And we are using what we found to be the best, and that is this software called Stammer AI. I'm going to put the link in the description to get it. You should really check it out. You can get there's a free trial on it. But basically, if you want to make agents for other companies, it's a whole white label service, and it is really terrific because it makes better chatbots and agents that you can train on someone else's website. It doesn't take that long to know to learn how to use it, and then you can put this trained AI agent chatbot on someone else's site and then bill them for that service. So I think that's a pretty neat thing. And then all the billing and everything's all set up that it looks like it's all you're doing everything, and basically it all works out, doesn't it? We've tried some of the free ones and they just the bots don't work very well.
Right. The AI chatbot itself in Stammer is really good because you can train it with a lot of good data and it has a lot of different functions. You can train it with the website addresses, the site map, but you can also give it custom information like product information from your e-commerce store or whatever, and that works great. But it's hard to train it. You do have to do a lot of testing even with that. And then when you don't like some of the answers, you can retrain it. That's also built into the software. A lot of the other ones, they can kind of answer, but they make a lot of mistakes. They might get wrong prices and a lot of other stuff. And then on
Right.
top of that, it also has the agent functionality as mentioned. So it could maybe book an appointment and you can even build in custom functions for whoever your client is. Like you'll have to do some coding for that, but then it really gives it power because it can add other things, other functionality on top of just the chatbot.
Right. So if you want an awesome agent for your own website, you don't want to figure out this, you can just contact us. We'll make you one. But if you're entrepreneurial and looking at selling agents to somebody else, you check out the link to Stammer in the description here. And it's a really, really cool way to go and start building these agents for other people. So you can make a really good AI business out of this. And there is some competition, but a lot of people just really aren't doing very well. And there's so much growing need because I think most businesses are realizing now, like, hey, I better get my head in the game here. Just like back in the day when they didn't even have a website. It's almost that's the next phase where you really do need an AI agent on your website to help out with the customers who go there. If you don't have one, you're just sort of missing out.
Well, you're certainly missing out if you are a digital agency and you're not offering these services. And then you might be thinking, well, that sounds great, but like how do I actually build this for my clients and bill them properly monthly? Well, that's why Stammer's cool because it's already built in for you and you can just dive right in very quickly without a bunch of like setup fees and training. And I think that's the key. Is you're already kind of an AI software service right away.
And you can customize the look of the bot to like your customer's website, and you can do a lot of things. You can even, you let them pick which model they want to use. Certain ones are more expensive than others. If they want an expensive one, you can charge them, like, let's say between a point 0.1 cents or 3 cents a query, and you can even add on top of that if you want. So this, like, the way it's all built in and the way it works, and the way the model itself and the agents themselves are so much better. It's a lot better using that than trying to do that yourself. So
Right, and it also even has an admin interface where your customers can log in and see all these conversations and give you feedback. It's not just like, "Here's your chat bot," but where are the dialogues? What actually happened to it? Where's the interaction?
right. And it's easy enough to use that your customer can then, once you've set it up, go in and, like, if they add to their website, then they can go put the newest link in to go and retrain the bot. And it's easy enough to do for basically anybody. So you're giving them a login to go train their own bot, and then you're billing them monthly for that, and everybody's winning because these are so powerful that it's very useful for the business owner to have one. And most of them are not going to figure out how to set it up.
For sure, and yeah, it's easy to set up, so give it a try. You don't have to think about it that much. That's the cool part. Just try it.
Exactly. So, and then what else, if anything, do we want to talk about? Like, we are on Spotify, iTunes, where else? Amazon. I think you're going to list our podcast on a bunch of others. YouTube. Where else can you check us out? AIgrowthguys.com.
Exactly. And we also have a few email courses, even about teaching you how to make money online, about AI, everything. So you can follow us for free and you won't miss anything then because we have a lot of different channels. So you want to find out if you sign up to our email list, we're everywhere that way.
Sign up to the email list. We'll show you how to do that. How to, like, we're building this new thing from the ground up. We have over 20 years experience. Maybe we can just babble about that for a minute to anybody who's listening. Over 20 years experience doing online marketing, various businesses. We had a successful podcast. We were both living in China for over 10, I guess 12 or 13 years. We had this podcast then. We were charging for it, had a lot of fans, millions of downloads, moved back to Canada, started our own individual families, and, getting back into that type of life over here. We have our supplement company now, which is doing quite well. We've done SEO for, like, seriously more than 2 decades and going up and down with all that. And we sort of know how to get popular online. So we're teaching this in that course you can find. I think there's a lot to learn from our experiences and what's going on now, Addison.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing why we like AI so much. Andrew went on a rant about all the things we've done. We're excited because now we can actually use AI to hopefully do more, have these agents and other kind of like robot workers doing stuff for us in theory. So we can do a lot more projects and really a lot more cool stuff.
Yeah, this feels like 20 years ago, but even better than that, almost the start of the internet before social media. And, how there was like was like the wild, wild west. It was an open field of new opportunities. And then it gets kind of clogged up and consolidated for a while. It's hard to do anything new. But now we're
Mhm.
at this new hyper growth phase, and we'd love to share our insights from the past and experiences, but kind of ideas what's working well now, because we're building this um, from the ground up. We're already making money on it. We've got hundreds of thousands of people checking out our articles, and we're sharing all this kind of stuff now. And a lot of people are spinning their wheels. They're having trouble getting traction because there's so much competition. But there are a lot of ways to do well if you kind of know the steps to look for.
For sure. So we're starting this podcast. This is the second episode. Obviously, we're just starting out figuring exactly what we're going to be talking about. But yeah, I mean, I think you get the kind of the idea. AI and making money doesn't sound too bad.
Not too bad at all. Hopefully, each one's going to improve a little bit from the next. But hopefully, you enjoyed this one. I guess you can shut her down. We'll put it up, and love to hear what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us some comments because we're just starting out again. And we will see you next time at AI Growth Hacking Podcast at aigrowthguys.com.